In this episode, you'll learn how to elicit peak performance from your team, how money can be used as a motivator, and why work should feel like a game. Recall that a manager's output is equal to the output of their team and the teams they influence. Put another way, management is a team activity, no matter how well a team is structured. No matter how well it is managed, it will only perform as well as the individuals on it. Everything outlined in the previous episodes is useless unless your team continually offers their best. The most important task of a manager is to elicit peak performance. You can improve performance by increasing a person's capabilities through training or by increasing their motivation. When a person isn't doing their job, it's because they are incapable or unmotivated. To determine which, ask yourself, if their life depended on it, could they do it? If yes, they're not motivated. No, they're not capable. For most of history, motivation was based on fear of punishment. If you didn't work hard, you didn't get paid. This worked because manual labor was readily measurable. Departures from the norm were easy to spot, and most people were operating in the lower levels of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But as the relative importance of manual labor decreases, the corresponding importance of knowledge work increases, and people move into the higher levels of Maslow's hierarchy. Motivation by fear stops working. For context, Maslow defined a set of needs that tend to lie in a hierarchy. When a lower need is satisfied, the higher need tends to take over. Under this model, creating and maintaining motivation relies on some form of dissatisfaction. Let's take a look at the motivators at each level in more detail. At the physiological level, one fears the deprivation of food, clothing, and other basic necessities. At the safety level, the desire to protect yourself from slipping back to the physiological level is the main motivator. At the social level, you are driven by your inherent desire to belong to a group whose members possess something in common with you. Our physiological, safety, and social needs are what motivate us to show up to work. But the final two levels of Maslow's hierarchy are what make us perform when we get there. Our need to keep up with or emulate others is what drives us at the esteem level. It's why we feel the pull to keep up with the Joneses. But like the other levels, once goals are met, keeping up with people stops being a good motivator. The final level of Maslow's hierarchy is self-actualization. It stems from the personal realization that what I can be, I must be. Once motivation is based on self-actualization, the drive to perform is limitless. Unlike other forms of motivation that extinguish once fulfilled, self-actualization can drive people to ever higher performance levels. Some people, not the majority, need to achieve in everything they do and will self-actualize without external input. For everyone else, management needs to foster an environment that promotes self-actualization by setting objectives high enough that they stretch the outer limits of each person's abilities. Objectives should be set high enough so even if individuals push hard, there is only a 50% chance of reaching them. Output increases when everybody strives for a level of performance beyond their immediate grasp, even if they fail half the time. The most important thing to do is to create an environment that values and emphasizes output. At the lower levels of Maslow's hierarchy, money is essential. After a certain point, more money doesn't equal more motivation, unless money is seen as a measure of achievement. Money at the physiological and safety stages only motivates until needs are met. Money as a measure of success can motivate without limit. A simple test can be used to determine where someone is in Maslow's hierarchy. If the absolute sum of a raise is significant, you are working within the physiological or safety levels. If what matters is how your raise stacks up against others, you are motivated by esteem or self-actualization. Money is a measurement of achievement. Once self-actualizing, money is a proxy for progress and an important feedback mechanism for performance. Outside of money, self-actualized people want to improve their performance, but feedback will need to be individualized. You now know how motivation can be used to elicit peak performance. Your role as a manager is to train individuals to improve their capabilities and to bring them to a point where they are self-actualizing. Once there, motivation is self-sustaining and limitless. Money alone will not get people there. You need to endow work with a sense of play and competition. Work should be a game. Your role as a manager is that of a coach. You establish the rules of the game and give employees ways to measure their performance. As coach, you take no personal credit for your team's success. And because of this, your team trusts you. You're tough but fair, eliciting peak performance from each person. And finally, you were probably a good player in the past. Having played well, you understand what it takes to perform. Seeing work as a game also teaches us how to cope with failure. In any competitive sport, at least 50% of all games are lost. When everybody knows that from the outset, failure is seen as par for the course and not something to dwell on.